Hey guys, welcome back. We are diving into Lesson 2, Creating Drum Loops Part 2. If you haven't already, please join in with me and build out your own pattern and work alongside as we create more drum loops using different techniques in this lesson. Now, what I'm gonna do is demonstrate the other methods of inputting notes. So what I've shown you so far is basically pulling in a kit, finding out the sounds either by clicking around in your MIDI clip in clip view with the headphone icon enabled so that you can preview out these sounds when you click the keyboard, okay? Or as long as your track is record enabled and you have your MIDI set up the right way on your MIDI channel, okay? From all ins, all channels, auto, okay? Then you can go in and play on your MIDI keyboard. To demo out those sounds, okay? We've also gone over how you can click the keyboard and use your computer keyboard akin to a musical keyboard, okay? I'm gonna turn that off. The hotkey command for that is Command-Shift-K. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna play in some notes. So for that, I'm gonna grab a different kit. I like that tom and that clap, some of those cymbals. So I'm gonna drag that in to the empty area after the first track, that empty area that says drop files and devices here. I just dropped the device in there. So I'm gonna go up here to number 3. It's kind of right down the middle in terms of complexity between my most basic clip, my most basic drum loop here, and my most complicated. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to 3, and notice how 3 was the only clip here that I haven't made into an 8-bar sequence. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. I'm just gonna go down here and click Duplicate Loop to make that into an 8-bar sequence now. Okay, click that, and what I'm gonna do is first find the sounds that I want, and I'm gonna play them in with my MIDI keyboard, okay? So instead of just double-clicking a clip, empty clip slot here to make a clip, enabling that, this is what we did last time. But now, this time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete that, okay? I'm gonna find the sounds on my keyboard, and I'm actually gonna play them in live, okay? Give it a more human feel, and add kind of my own rhythmic touch to this beat, if you will. So it's getting away from being so mechanical with your production. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this channel down just a bit. I'm gonna turn this channel down just a bit, so when I play them together, I'm not completely clipping out my master bus. Although while you're making the beat, it's not that big of an issue, but still. Kind of like that sound. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to click this little O, okay, in any empty clip slot, but I'm gonna click on the same one as this because I want it to be inserted in the clip slot that is on row 3 here so that when I get 2 clips together, I can just click that to fire both of them, okay? So I'm gonna okay, and I have a rogue note here I didn't mean to hit, so I'm gonna delete that. And I'm gonna demo those back. So they're both selected for playback. I'm just gonna hit space. So they're a little bit off beat. okay? I've played them in by hand, but they're not in the cut. They're not in the groove. They don't sound like they're on beat. They're a little bit off. They're kind of moving around the beat a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is something called quantizing or quantization, okay? I'm going to take these notes and notice how they are drifting off the grid a little bit, okay? And I'm going to put them on the grid without dragging them manually one by one, okay? Just a quick note as well. Notice how Ableton knows that I want a 4-bar loop here. It automatically set the loop length of this bar to 4 bars, starting at 1, going to 5. So just an awesome feature about Ableton. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to, whenever quantizing, what you wanna do is you first wanna set up your settings. So I'm gonna right click and hit quantize settings, or you can hit Command-Shift-U on your keyboard. That's the hotkey or quick key shortcut. And I'm going to, at the beginning of every new session, set up my quantization settings the proper way. So I'm going to put this on a 16th grid, start and end of the notes, yes. And the amount at 100%, if you put it at 0%, it's not gonna do anything. You put it at 50%, it will move every note that's off this 16th note grid halfway closer to where the grid is. So I'm gonna leave it at 100%, and I want it to align both the start and the ends of my notes. I'm gonna hit okay. Okay? Notice how it did all the work for me. Exactly how I wanted it. Okay, so I have this sound. Okay, playing this on my MIDI keyboard now, but I want to add another sound on top of this in the same clip by hand. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to click this O button. Okay, hit the space bar to stop. Now notice what it did. If I would have clicked a new clip slot, it would have made me a new clip, right? But that's not what I wanted. I wanted to overdub this zappy sound, okay? That sound right there, okay? And I wanted to do that in the same clip. So what I did was I clicked this button right here, which will allow you to, whatever clip is selected, add a new sound over the MIDI that's playing without overwriting it entirely. Now the cool thing about this feature is that, and I added this sound in, let's get rid of the sounds I didn't mean to add the first time, okay? The cool thing about this feature is that if you find some sounds you like, and you kind of know how you want to play them in, I kind of want to play those 3 sounds in over top of this. Let's say I wanted to play them in their own 4-bar loops, okay? So I only want to focus on one sound at a time. Once I click this O, what's gonna happen is it's gonna start recording, but it's just gonna keep looping through this 4-bar loop over and over again until I hit space, okay? So what it's gonna allow me to do is, on the first take, just focus on the tom drum. And then on the second take, or even the third, focus on this sound right here. Okay? Delete that note right there. And I'm gonna add 2 more, one in the first loop through and the second sound in the second loop through. I'm gonna do the same thing again, okay? But I'm gonna do it with this sound and that sound. Heck, I might even add a third sound. Let's see. Yeah, let's do it. Here we go. I'm gonna go. And then, and, so just to demonstrate the concept of being able to just loop out a clip and being able to play this clip over and over and over again in record mode while you're punching in notes, it's an extremely quick way of producing, just getting rid of some notes here that I didn't intend to hit. If you're really jamming out, you'll notice that you hit a bunch of notes sometimes randomly. So now that I've played a bunch of stuff in, it's kind of sounding cluttered. So I've, again, set up my Quantize settings, okay? What I can do now is once I know that my Quantize settings for this session are set up correctly, I can Command A and hit Command U, and all of these sounds will now show you that again. Oops. All of these sounds, Command A to select all, and then Command U to quantize, or let's do that again. And if you are more comfortable using your mouse or trackpad, what you can do is just right click, and it's the first thing in this right click contextual menu, Quantize, and it will quantize all of that input based on what you've set up in your Quantize settings. So you now have everything quantized at 16th. Let's give it a listen. I'm going to turn this down a little bit so it plays in relative volume to this main loop a little bit better. And I don't like this sound in this clip per se, but I don't want to get rid of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click this keyboard icon to highlight all of the MIDI notes, okay, for this sample in this sample slot. And I'm just going to hit the 0 key on my keyboard. Now, what does that do? It kind of dims it out. What you're doing is basically you're deactivating the note, okay? So if I wanted to get rid of the zaps for this one, bring them in a later clip. This one too, I'm gonna kind of bring it in a later clip. So now I'm gonna alt drag this clip down and I'm gonna turn these back on in this clip, variation. And in the fifth one, I'm gonna add these hats in, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, just so I can see better, now I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna alt drag this clip down into that slot for 5, and same thing. So you can see how you can very easily build out variations of clips by deactivating notes, okay? So that, in essence, is how you create drum loops in Ableton Live. That's what I found to be the most efficient, effective way to get the notes and the ideas out of your head and into the computer, or if you don't really know what you want to hear yet, just to kind of quickly get a scratch up rough draft of a good loop that you can start building off of and start grooving with and start having a good time with, okay? So I have my main loop here that I've programmed entirely. I've had my secondary loop here and secondary kit that goes along with it, okay? And I've played all this in by hand, okay, on my MIDI keyboard. The third way is a variation of playing it on your MIDI keyboard. What you're gonna do to record this time. So let me find one more kit here. Yeah, that's good for now. And if you don't have a MIDI keyboard and you're done drawing in your main drum loop components here, and you want to play something in by hand, but you don't want to use your MIDI keyboard, you can always, or you don't have one with you, you can always use your computer keyboard. Remember, just click this little icon up here, or hit Command Shift K, toggle that on and off, okay? And now,
hey, listen to the organ. Hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hit me now, hit me now, hit me now.
love it.
Hit me, hit me, hit me now. Hey, hey, hey. Hit me now, hit me now. Hey, hey, hey. Hit me, hit me, hit me now. Hey, hey, hey.
Okay, so let's add that in.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey,
Okay. So now that I've got that loop length set, I can add in. I'm gonna, again, click the. Let that loop. I can delete notes as I go. I'm gonna add one more sound. Hitting Command A to select all, and then right-clicking and hitting that quantize. And that last quantize wasn't exactly what I wanted. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quantize selected notes here. So I'm gonna go ahead and quantize those. Select these, and I'm going to go ahead and quantize them. There we go. Go ahead and delete that note. It was a little bit too much. I'm going to drag this out a little bit so we can kind of hear that a little bit better. Oops. And drag that length out. Okay, so just to demo it out, that's how you play it in with your computer keyboard. And that is how you create drum loops in Ableton Live. So now we've got a solid drum loop built out, starting with a less complex version and building up to a more complex version. We've got some stuff we played in by hand and quantized, and the complexity of this loop building up over time. So I'm gonna go ahead and just to keep things uniform, rename these, just hit Command R on the first clip, down arrow, and every time adding the right number so that it corresponds with this clip slot over here, or it corresponds with the intensity within a loop. So I could still grab all these, drag them down. They wouldn't necessarily correspond with clip slot. This is now on scene 3, but it's clip 1 of this progression, but that doesn't matter as long as you know within these clips that that's the energy level, and then you can kind of go in here and grab maybe 3 and 4 and kind of reverse this and build out something that's building up and then breaking down over time. But at least you know 5 is the most complex, 4, 3 down onto 1, which is the least complex, okay, most simple. So once you have your loop built out in MIDI, the next thing you're gonna wanna do is start hand picking the sounds you're gonna use in your drum kit. And that's exactly what we're gonna do in the next lesson. See you guys then.